So I invite the three panelists for this end user discussion to come up. There's only 3 chairs. I guess I'll stand. Okay. So, thank you very much for attending the conference. So, as I was telling you, I'm the CEO of Humantelligence. This is an end user panel discussion where they're going to talk about how they use Humantelligence, and you can substitute Humantelligence with how they use psychometrics in a much more modern way with data analytics to really transform their companies and to improve performance and improve collaboration. What you'll hear today from them are really great use cases as to why they've kind of ditched all the other type of assessment tools to move to something that's more forward-thinking, and why, frankly, Humantelligence is winning so many awards. They come from 3 very different industries. Okay, so Nadine Heubul, she comes from Germany, but she works at a company called Heinemann Americas. She's CEO, several $billion in revenue. She's CEO for the Americas. They do a lot of the retail support for duty-free shops and retail shops on cruise ships and airports. We also have Tim Coan, who drove, I think, 15 hours to get here. A long drive. His wife doesn't want him flying on a plane with Omnicom, and so he honors his wife, and that's pure love there. 15 hours in a car in 2021 is pretty remarkable. And so he is the Chief Culture Officer at Richwood Bank. They have about 200 employees, regional bank, with branches, correct?
Sir.
How many branches?
9.
9 branches. And then we have Ben Madden, who I found out yesterday or 2 days ago, that he's from my hometown in Maryland, went to my rival high school. But he is the VP of HR, and I think co-founder of the company as well.
Not co-founder.
Okay, so he's VP of HR of an IT consulting firm that works with the federal government for federal government contracting in IT, about 160 employees. And so we're going to drill into how they use tools like Humantelligence and how hybrid and remote work have impacted their businesses, but then what tools they've used to overcome that, okay? A couple fun facts, though, to get us started, because it is early. Let's start with some fun stuff. Nadine, one of her fun facts is that she is a concierge key member of the American Airlines program, so millions of miles a year, but she is terrified of flying. She's not scared of heights, she's just terrified of flying, and she still does it. That's her love for her job. When she speaks German, she has such a thick accent that everybody in Germany knows because she's from Baden, Stuttgart, which they have a slogan that says, "We're good at everything except our own language." And then, kid you not, that if you go to Baden-Baden and all these places, that's their slogan. And then the most fun one, I believe, is she's living the American dream. What we all grew up with, she sensed, tasted, smelled all the way from yonder in Germany. And she moved here with her husband and her dog. And only her dog made it because her husband's back in Germany, and she stayed in Florida, in Miami, actually. In terms of Tim, some fun facts about him is he is a hack bass fisherman, which he claimed is very common, but anybody else here a bass fisherman? I told him there might be 2 people in the room. So he's, there we go, there's one.
Oh, all right.
There we go, 1, 2. So hack bass fisherman. He is a passionate pinball machine expert. And because of that, they've actually added pinball machines in all the 9 different branches at his banks. And they also were doing coffee shops, kind of like the Capital One concept, all the way since 2015. And the most interesting one is he has been playing in jazz bands for many, many years, and even played with Buddy Rich and Maynard Ferguson, who are names I've never heard of, but some of you by your faces are saying, wow, that's amazing.
He was so impressed when I told him. There was this awkward silence.
Googling like these names, like how do I spell those names? Who are these people? But he said that people who understand music would recognize that. And then Ben, his fun facts are that he also loves music and probably has such a broad brush knowledge of music from the 50s to modern stuff, whether it's radio, Spotify, whatever channel, that he could literally reference a song lyric for virtually any conversation possible within music. So someone tests his knowledge of music later. He also loves playing pickup soccer for the last 15 years, and he self-taught himself how to play goalie, which my wife's a psychiatrist, so we'll figure out why you pick goalie as the position to get shot at all day, but that's amazing that you did that late in life. And he's a diehard of University of Michigan, which, as many of you football fans know, he's very excited that they're in the Final Four this year. So that is the fun part of this, and now let's get to work. So I want to start with just Nadine with the opening question of how has remote and hybrid work impacted your company's culture, how you guys connect, how you communicate, and how you collaborate? And then I'll ask similar questions to the others and move around.
Yeah, to answer the question, maybe I need to talk a little bit about our company. So Heinemann Americas, we are part of the Heinemann group, and Heinemann actually is 142 years old. So 5th generation, so our culture is very much around family. You know, we are family, human-centric, and when we were in the office pre-pandemic, the little things, I think, really made a difference. The little things in the sense that my door is always open, everybody can come in, upper management would hang out in the lunchroom as well. We would really care about our people. We would stop, we would laugh. We had this really family environment. And we felt that this was really our culture. And then suddenly we all had to go remote, and all these little moments didn't happen again. And this was really the moment where we started understanding that culture is not just these little moments, that this is much, much more, and that we really need to talk about it, what culture actually is for us. So we went on this quest, myself and the executive team first, to really, understand what is culture and what do we need to do to intentionally talk and work with culture. Yeah, so that's when we started really having conversations with leadership team, with everybody, to talk about who are we, who do we want to be, and what is our in-scope behavior, what is our out-of-scope behavior. And so really the pandemic, in a way, was really a moment where we started to realize that we have to talk about culture and we have to be intentional about culture.
Thank you. And Ben?
So for us, really, as a federal contractor, we've got folks on various sites. So for us, we've got culture sort of in various different places. One of the things we talked about yesterday, or one of the speakers talked about, is the culture of one department versus another and how they thrive. We sort of have to live that. We live very siloed with our culture. So one of the things that we've been trying to do for years is really trying to find that way to figure out who's going to succeed and where. Really trying to figure out, if our customers are one way and we put a team that is entirely opposite of them and can't really figure out why, let's actually put some metrics behind that. Let's really start developing what that looks like. And so for us, it was really just trying to find that right way to actually measure cultures and different cultures, and being okay that there are multiple different cultures within a company. It's a matter of figuring out how best to have people succeed in whichever sort of microcosm culture that they're in.
And Tim, how has hybrid remote work impacted or made you a better understanding of culture at your firm?
Well, first I want to say I didn't, as an Ohio State grad, I just now learned that Ben was a U of M grad. I didn't know that.
I'll say nothing.
So anyways, congrats, it's very humbling. So as a culture officer, my job is largely engagement. And the way we define culture is I know what to do when. I know what to do when I have this program. I know what to do when the president walks in the door. I know what to do when this thing isn't working. And so we had a lot of I don't know what to do whens when COVID hit. So probably like a lot of you guys, we found some things that we're now going to hold on to really, really tightly. We have morning huddles, which are not really number sharing as much as they are gratitude and relationship building. And now doing that through Zoom and not over the phone, we found, man, oh my gosh, this blessing of seeing people connect in a natural way, we'll never let go of that. But we did sort of systematically sit down and say, what are the things they now don't know how to predictably do that they're off-site, that bring us together? Because we are we're at pinball machines and coffee shops. I mean, we're a heavy traffic, we're a relational kind of thing, and we had to shut down branches like everybody else. So we walked through each of those predictive things. It allowed us to build out how we use our CRM for relationship building and how people reached out to customers, how we created online groups and had lunch and learns, and we had a whole bunch of things now that have modified how we do about our business and we'll hold on to in the post-COVID world.
So now we're going to drill down on some specific uses of technology to bridge culture during a hybrid and remote experience like we're all experiencing today. So Nadine, what parts of Humantelligence are you guys using to really kind of help with culture? Maybe you highlighted some great examples the other night. Maybe share some of those with the audience.
Yeah, so we are not using it for, we're not using Humantelligence for recruiting yet. What we are using it really is to understand who we are individually and also as a team. So we all did the assessment. Everybody in the organization did the assessment. And it was, first of all, was great to find out that within the 10-minute assessment that the result I got is, oh my God, this is really who I am. So this was really amazing, and this is what happened to everybody. So when we were comparing each other, it was really like, oh my God, yes, this is how you are. So we use it a lot as a tool to compare each other, to compare the team dynamics as well, and to really talk about it. And that's really great. And one story I was sharing with Juan. There is a colleague in my executive team. He comes from Germany. The two of us have been working together for over 10 years. Also in the previous role I had. He's German, I'm German, so we other two Germans have been working together for a very long time. So there is always this little bit of a notion, oh, he's her favorite. You know, they have been working so well together. They are so similar. He gets away with many things. And it's not true. And I always felt, this is unfair, you know, but I couldn't really explain it, that this was actually not true. So when we did the test, then we found out that him and me are actually the furthest apart from each other. That I'm much closer with some of my other colleagues.
So your number, because when you do a comparison, it gives you a 0 to 100 score. You guys are like, what, 25, 35?
We were 30 something.
30, which is like very different.
So this is when you compare behaviors, motivators. And yeah, so we were very, very different. And this was great for everybody to really see that we are working very hard on our relationship. You know, that this is not favoritism or because we are both from Germany. This was really because we are respecting each other. We are respecting our differences. And we're working so well together because I'm on the one side of the spectrum, he's on the other side of the spectrum, and then we talk it out, and most of the time we come to a much better solution because we talk about it. So this was really great. And I have, if I may share another one. Actually, this was from yesterday. So the industry I'm in, we are in retail and cruise retail. We had no business for 18 months because cruise lines were just not out on the oceans. And now we are starting business again. So we are ramping up the business. We have all these global supply chain issues. It's very difficult to get merchandise. So the business is very complex. And we are having this discussion on what we have to do, what are our next steps. And I had this meeting with my executive team, and something was bothering me, and I couldn't really explain what was bothering me. So I looked again at who are we as a team, and then there was one metric which is about are we more flexible or are we more structured. And then it showed that the executive team that we are an extremely structured team and that we have very little flexibility. And the only one who's flexible is myself, and the other ones are extremely structured, which is great in many, many moments. But right now, with all the challenges we have and ever-evolving situation, we need to be much more flexible. And we need to kind of give up this structured head and move towards being more flexible. And that's great that data shows this to us. So now we are having conversation of saying, yes, we know we are a very structured team, but now intentionally we need to move and be more flexible and this is really thanks to data, thanks to Humantelligence, because otherwise I think we would always discussing about feelings, emotions, why do we think why, but here is the data and it shows that we are a very structured team. And it's made complete sense.
And this is a great example because one of the misnomers of culture is, okay, you set it and forget it. We've got the t-shirts printed for all the employees, the coffee mugs, and that's our culture for the next 10 years. COVID happened, supply chain issues, they need to be more flexible. Humantelligence allows you to use culture mappings and data to change and align strategy every week, every month if something happens. And so you're not using this at a workshop once a year, every 4 years. This is real-time insights that help you navigate challenges that come up every month, every quarter. So it's a more actionable every month usage to align culture to strategy. There aren't any tools in the market that allow you to do that on a consistent basis without having consultants come in and making it a big production. Okay, Ben, so thank you for that example, actually. So Ben, for you use it also for a different reason. Many of these companies do mergers and acquisitions, M&A, and we, I went to Wharton Business School, and the number one thing they say there in all business schools is 75% of integrations of M&A don't work out, and you don't ever see the benefits. And most of the time it's because of culture mismatch. And so Ben's company had that challenge, and maybe you can explain how you use Humantelligence to overcome it.
Sure. So, the joys of COVID, we also had an M&A going on at the same time, and not meeting 3/4 of the folks who were coming on. One of the things we wanted to do was be able to start getting an understanding, again, going back to the idea that each contract has its own microcosm culture, as well as the leadership team that was being absorbed. So we started off by piloting the leadership team of the company that we acquired, and really wanted to use that information to build from that how best to grow our leadership team. So that started there, and really helped drive forward an understanding of how they operate. It helped us break down some of the early sort of communication challenges you get as you bring two leadership teams together. So we were able to sort of not have one dominate the other in terms of preferences. We were able to sort of blend everything, which helped further ensure that the leadership team became immersed, and then from there we could roll that down because we had leadership buy-in on Humantelligence and keep using that through our entire organization from there.
Awesome. And Tim, you talked 2 points on that phone prep call we had. One was just, using technology around culture and the future, right? The intersection of technology and culture. Maybe bring some examples of how you see that using Humantelligence, other tools. You can also dive into your recruiting example that you gave, but maybe just elaborate on some examples.
Yeah, so those are the two places we use it, is leadership development and in the recruiting process. We don't use the ATS that's in the tool, although it's nice and really well contained. We have an HRIS system we've been trying to integrate. But the actual data available to a hiring manager is so immediately powerful, and to be able to, if you think about that recruiting cycle, and we were talking about retention, and we have the same issues too. If you think about that candidate being able to get that one sheet back, so if you take Humantelligence, if you guys did it, I assume many of you did, you get that one-page bio. Candidates often, when you do these assessments, they hear nothing, they know nothing, they get a turn down, they don't know anything about it. If we care about the candidate experience, just being able to give that, get the feedback, you have a short conversation, you connect with the person on a whole nother level, it changes all of those conversations very, very quickly, and also with not just with the recruiter, but with the hiring manager as well. And it ups their sophistication and really within the leadership development ranks, because we're a rural bank. We're in towns that are typically between 2,000 and 30,000 people. So we got a lot of really hardworking, bright folks, but they might not be as sophisticated on leadership and organizational development theories as we'd like them to be. And we run them through a series of courses they're required to take, and Humantelligence is one of the tools within their management routines that they're required to adhere to watch them light up, to watch them suddenly realize the sophistication that they have, not only in managing their team, but in building their team. It's sort of changed the trajectory of our managers.
So you're saying a lot of assessment tools, I won't mention them, are really complicated, and it's hard to get a non-sophisticated manager up to speed. How much time does it take? Is it as painful as some of the certifications you've dealt with other tools, or maybe talk to that point about how simple it is for your managers?
It's 3 hours of coursework, but I mean, they have immediate benefit when they take it and they see it, And connecting with people is easy. We've now got connections between people because you can invite folks, and so you create all these informal networks. So it happens almost immediately. You talked about the matches within teams, just giving them that level of sophistication to watch them sort of crack up, and they're so happy because they're all in the 85%. You talk about what it's like when everybody's got this groupthink mentality, and really you want to step it down, and you just watch them blossom. It's the smallest of skills to give them, but it changes the way they think about their team and support. So it's almost immediate, but there are 3 courses that are about an hour a piece that we run them through, and by the end of that, and then we have ongoing. We do real casual. I hadn't shared this with you, but we'll pull together a lunch and learn. Well, we'll just get helpers. We're all helpers. About 92% of our company are helpers, which is awesome unless you need people to be accountable. So when you have issues with accountability and everybody's a helper, it's one of those things sitting at opposite ends of the continuum. So we'll do lunch and learns, and we'll just grab one of these personas, and we might get 5 people on the call, we might get 60 people on the call. It just depends what it is, and so then they'll talk about applications and challenges and who they know and how so they've got their own kind of network of stuff going as well too.
Perfect. Nadine, you were familiar with personality test assessments. You've used many of them. Why Humantelligence over those? Because some of the elements we've discussed today, other tools do too. But what would you say is the biggest differentiator that you decided to go with Humantelligence versus other tools?
Yeah, first of all, you're absolutely right. I think I use them all. I love to learn. I love to grow, self-learn, self-consciousness, and so forth. But I'm also somebody. My attention span is not very long. So that's why I loved, as I said earlier, it's a 10-12 minute test. And after 10-12 minutes, you get a result, and it was me. That was amazing. I love that it's web-based. I love that you get the 3 icons, which you can very quickly say, I'm a go-getter, I'm a maverick, and I'm an influencer. Boom. So not even 30 seconds. This is my elevator pitch, so to speak. That's what I love about it. I love about it that it's very visual, and that you can, with the tool, you can really play around. You immediately see, as I said, who matches you best, who doesn't match you well. You can see where you are in the spectrum. In those behaviors or motivators or work styles, which is really great. So it's a tool which has like a little bit of gamification. I think in a way.
We did that on purpose.
Yeah, which I like, and that therefore it's fun to use it, and it's fun then to think about next steps.
And Ben, 2-part question for you. You're one of the co-founders or one of the other executive team members. They're like super certified on DISC, MBTI, so are you. So first part, why did you guys decide to go with Humantelligence first? It isn't just another assessment tool. And the second part, it seems like you guys use that team view a lot. So a lot of people think assessments are just these individual results. Maybe talk to how the team view has been very helpful, not just a one-time and done, but maybe as you work through the months.
So, I am certified in MBTI, which, despite the fact that I am certified in it, is sort of bunk when it comes to doing anything, when it comes to workplace assessments. MBTI is really individual preference, stylistic, not the idea of motivators, behaviors, and sort of what drives you at a workplace. DISC does a lot of the same thing. It gives you personal knowledge about how you take in and deliver information. What Humantelligence does is really takes some of the parts of DISC and some of their other, special sauce, and it helps build that individual picture. But beyond that, it really gives teams a common language. So, you can real quickly say your top three things, and for folks who understand and have used the software, they know very quickly what that means. You can very quickly skip past some of those, unpleasant or sticky conversations that may happen, because you can know how to best work through whatever the top 3 motivators are. In addition, you also get how best folks can work with you. So you're able to sort of start getting that self-actualization, that self-knowledge to help be more effective within the organization. And with us, we're able to actually create teams on the fly. So, when we're doing bids for new contracts, we can figure out if a team that's coming together looks like it'll be a successful team. We're able to do that. We're able to add in candidates who we may be hiring in addition to folks who are already on the team based on, depending on where in the process folks are with recruiting. So it really gives us a chance to actually build teams, make effective teams, and make decisions based strictly on what we know is going to be successful and how folks have been successful in the past.
Great. By the way, what's the time end that we have here? No clock.
15
Yeah.
minutes.
I'm just so short. Sorry. That's crazy. Never felt so short in my life. Okay. Let's go to Tim. Same kind of two-part question. One, you're an expert in assessment tools as well. You guys have used a lot. I recall you guys were testing 4 or 5 when we were piloting with you. What was the determining factors why you went with Humantelligence, and has that played out? And then the second part of the question, you do something really fun for EQ Everywhere, the collaboration tool that's connected to Outlook and Gmail, where people can just click on a name and see the insights on how to communicate and motivate and influence that person in your email or in a calendar to see the culture. So maybe on the second part, how are you guys using it for that? So why choose Humantelligence? Did it play out like you thought? And then the EQ Everywhere, kind of the reward system you guys have.
Yeah, so if you haven't seen this EQ Everywhere, get with one of these guys. I carry my laptop around, I can show it to you too. It's the funnest tool to do exactly what you said, which is to aid with that communication. But we've held it as a reward. So those 3 separate classes I told you we run our managers through, it's not until they are done with that they can get this EQ anywhere. So we're on the tail end of the have and have nots. So it creates a lot of buzz and conversation and insight and jokes and also just engagement with the tool. People are using it in crazy ways now. So it's a really great tool. And we were looking at a lot of different platforms. And I think one of the things that jumps out about Humantelligence very quickly is how accessible and easily consumed it is. And you've heard a lot of that up here. And when you see that, if you do what we do for a living, you guys obviously do what we do for a living, you wonder about, is it reliable? Is it valid? How powerful is it? What's the backbone to this thing? And everybody I dealt with very patiently kind of ran me through and got me all of the research, and I got to look at the numbers, and it's a wildly powerful tool. And if you give some, because we have a lot of DISC people, and we do DISC, and I go out and I'll, and certified in the tool too. And you give people the ability to sort of process it. You're giving them a phone book of stuff, and it's all valid and it's all great, but it's not accessible, and you can't grab it and run and go. And with Humantelligence, you can grab it and run and go. And if you want to get into the detail, if you want, you can dive as deep as you want to, but that was largely why we did it. It was the power of the tool. It was the backbone that it was sound, that it was valid, that it was reliable, and we knew our managers would pick it up immediately, which they did.
Nadine, 2-part question for you. First, you mentioned that when we approached you before the pandemic, you had no interest in a culture platform, right? Culture is important, but we're busy. We have a lot of priorities, right? So someone had introduced me to her. She's in Miami probably 3 years ago. They ended up buying our tool during the pandemic when business wasn't as good, budgets were lower, so it's an oxymoron. Why would that happen? So maybe first question, explain that difference of perspective, and then maybe give any other example of how you use the platform that's useful maybe to other people.
Yeah. So let me correct you on one thing, is that we were interested in the platform before the pandemic as well, but it was maybe not on my priority list.
Right.
So that's what I need to say, like quite transparently. Yeah. It was I felt this is an HR topic. Culture is something the HR will deal with, and I had all my trust, or I have all my trust in my HR director. So again, I didn't really feel the need that I needed to be involved, or that my executive team needed to be involved. And really through understanding and learning about culture, I really realized that culture is something which needs to come from the top. This is not something which can be delegated to anybody. This is something which need to come from the top, and the executive team, including the HR director, need to really drive cultural discussions in an organization. And through this quest of really learning, reading books, podcasts about culture, as I said, I realized that's something I need to be involved myself. And so I met Juan for lunch. We had a great lunch, and we realized even if we were in a situation where we literally had no revenue coming in, but we knew that revenue would be picking up eventually, that this was the time where it was the right moment to invest in a cultural tool. And it was also the right moment, I felt, to invest in a fun cultural tool, because the situation was very bad. You know, when you have no revenue in your organization, when you're down to a skeleton crew, you need something to also light up your day and make you believe in the future. And we felt that buying into the tool, buying into such a fun tool and making it such a fun experience, this was also a sign to our teams that we believed in the future and that the future was bright.
And Ben, Nadine had given an example where there are those moments during the year, every couple of years, where there's a massive challenge. And in this example she gave around aligning the culture to the strategy of being more flexible and how to solve a problem, which without the tool they might not have come to, because if you don't know your issue, right? If a pitcher in baseball only knows a slider and he doesn't know that's all he knows, he thinks he knows how to do a fastball, well, he'll never do the fastball, right? Similarly, what's the one moment, that inflection point where there was a challenge or a problem where Humantelligence came to the rescue, where really without that tool, you guys probably wouldn't have had the same outcome in business or internal or client facing?
Yeah, I mean, so for us, it really was part of that M&A, and we sort of knew how our team operated, but didn't have sort of the language and the commonality to say, we're all X, or we're a mixture of X and Y. So once we got our leadership team all through the Humantelligence platform, we really were able to understand how and why things aren't getting done. So if there is no accountability, if there's no flexibility and things like that, it really helps drive and understand which of those levers you need to push and pull. Our CEO is very different than a lot of our team, and so she knows that when she needs to pull levers based on her preferences, she's able to do that, and folks will follow through with that. But without sort of knowing the commonalities and sort of the feel of the team, it's really hard to do that. It's really hard to be able to successfully know which levers to pull. And so we've been able to break through some of those challenges. We've been able to break through on our leadership team. A true measure of moving the whole organization forward based on simply just knowing more about each other and ourselves.
Yeah, and actually that brings me a reminder. Last night I was having dinner, and one of your colleagues here, they had been using the tool for a while, and they did a pilot. And in their, I think, customer support group, there were like 30 people, and they had done the pilot, and I haven't seen them in about a year. And it turns out there were 4 or 5 people who were very different than the rest of the group. None of them were with the company anymore. And so he was like, aha moment, wow, that tool I could have used for hiring, because clearly it's identifying who would succeed in this culture of customer success we built and who hasn't. So Tim, what about you? Any other example of a pivotal moment where Humantelligence helped either with one employee or a team or a business decision?
About 70% of our workforce are women under the age of 30. And one of the things that we know, 2 of the things we know is important to them is life online and living authentically, and those roads don't cross very often. It's very hard to say exactly, what you think and be your true self when you're also putting all your filters on and doing when you do your selfies. And so we have taken, and because when you work in intranet, you have some rules in place that don't allow all the anonymity. And so we have grabbed pieces of Humantelligence and put it into our intranet. So we start discussion boards. We connect people up on things we call micro huddles, and we require them to deal with it with the express sort of experiment. And we're dealing with a handful of grad students now to maybe see if we can get a paper written on it. But seeing if we can identify these elements, and Humantelligence is one of them, where there are some crossroads. I can really be myself, and I can really live online. And so the personas is one of the places where we're getting a lot of traction with that.
I'd like to shake it up now because we have 5 minutes. Many of you might have some questions, so instead of me asking questions to them that they've already were prepared for, does anybody have a question about your company that you might want to ask one of the panelists or all of them? Either everyone has their hand up or no one has their hand up. It's hard to see. Okay, if no questions, then I'll continue. So onboarding, have any of you used this tool for onboarding? If so, what have you seen with it?
So we are starting to bring that into our onboarding. One of the things that we've done is built cohorts based on years of experience within the organization. So we've got a 0 to 5, 6 to 10, 15, 11 to 15, and 15 plus. So one of the things we do is during onboardings, we have them take the Humantelligence assessment and then add them into those cohorts. It allows our folks to have commonalities within sort of that hub and meet that connection point. But also allows folks to very quickly ramp up into the parlance that we use. We also have that drive into, we have rolled out a new performance management system that allows us to sort of do some forward thinking. So it allows the holistic view of a person to be brought to work. So they have the Humantelligence, they have sort of what that forward thinking 2, 3, 5 year picture is, and that really helps get folks set up for success. It allows us to set them up for success to be able to grow within the organization.
Any other examples for onboarding? I have other questions if you don't.
Yeah, no. I think the place we use it is we do 2 days of culture immersion, and they have to bring that piece, and we have structured conversations around it. It's the same thing. We're a smaller company, so it's easier for us to do it on a formal level, but we have them go out and seek and find and do part of that to sort of up those connections quickly.
Okay, so the last question I want each of you to address in the last 3 minutes is selection process, right? So all of you either have assessment tools or are thinking about doing it. Selection is a very important thing, and I would never recommend to just go buy Humantelligence. That'd be great, but I wouldn't recommend that. Really try out several. So what are your advice, each of you, for how best to run a selection process, what questions to ask, how to pilot it? What would you advise your colleagues here on the selection of an assessment platform or tool? And this is a stumper because they weren't prepared for this question.
For me, it is really try them all out. Get a feel for what they look like. Get a feel for how they'll play within your organization. Just because somebody is wed to a certain type, as I said, MBTI and DISC, those aren't always going to be the winners. Make sure that they have the right feel and the right support to be able to drive forward your organization. If you buy the wrong piece of software, you're going to waste money and have to start again. So really do that dive, really look across what's out there and find the right tool to be able to solve that problem.
I think what is also important is that you really understand what you want to solve. What is the purpose of going out and buying a tool? And even if you don't know what you don't know, but you do know what your purpose is and what the problem is you want to solve. And I think it's very important to spend enough time of really being very clear on what you actually need.
I know one of the big issues for me is support, accessibility, and so I talked with a lot of other customers and did that with all the folks we were vetting, all the companies we were vetting at the time to see what support looked like and what happened in good times and bad, and I think that's just a huge part with any vendor, but you guys definitely stood out. in regards to that. And then the thing that I wasn't looking for wasn't sort of part of the vetting process, but what amazed me was how much you folks live it. I mean, it's part of the language. They talk about themselves internally. I didn't have that with any of the other vendors. We were close to being done with the paperwork, and I said to Dan, I said, did you use this tool as you worked with me because you understood me on some different level? And I think he said something like, I'm not saying a word. But you know, they're clearly living the tool, and so you guys provide to us coaches and the real world examples. There's just an application and a passion for it, and you haven't talked about your vision up here about democratizing that kind of data and sort of the humanity in it, and I just think that's also a big differentiator.
Yeah, we are trying to democratize self-awareness to the world because most of these tools are really only for executives. So we're offering in 12 minutes what no combination of tools can do in an hour. That typically costs $2,000 for what we're offering, and we give the tool for free. So you can give it to 10,000 people, 5,000 people. You don't pay for the assessment. You can give it to 10 million applicants. You don't pay for the assessment. You're only paying for the value it gives you in terms of understanding the culture of your organization and hiring for best fit. Best fit being either cloning high performers in a specific role, or best fit being diversity of thought, where you can push a button and guarantee that who you bring onto the team is culture add. And so really democratizing self-awareness is kind of our vision, because these assessment tools have only been for the haves and not for the rest of the world. And everyone wins, the employees, the companies, and even family members. Many of our clients, we let them give it to their family members for free. So anyways, with that, thank you so much, panelists. God bless you, and let's give them a great round of applause.
Thank you, Juan, and our esteemed panelists.